Hey everybody, Jacob Godar here. Today we're talking about how to price with GPS. And I'm not calling this lawn care and I'm not calling this landscape because we're going to go over the general idea of how we will do this with both. This is really big topic that will help you grow your company and it'll give you ideas on how to start implementing and using GPS to really leverage your time and leverage your ability to scale and sell more profitable services for your business. When you look at services for your business, you realize that if you're pricing stuff right, you're probably closing 30% of your jobs, roughly in that number. And that means for all the people you go out and see, if out of every 10, you're only gonna get 3 of those jobs. So the more stuff you can do with GPS, the more you can leverage time and the tools you have at hand today to grow your company and not kill any of your time or the client's time, where they can go out and if you're not a good fit financially, they can go out and find someone that is, and even better, you could potentially refer them to someone that may be a better fit for their company. So let's get right into this. Number 1, let's talk about lawn care. How do we build out pricing for our mowing side of the business through GPS? I've always seen a lot of pushback in this area because people talk about, well, there's so many variables that you just can't see and so many things that you can't do and I always walk every property. I just have to get my boots on the ground. It's 2022. We need to leverage the technology we have at hand to serve our clients. If you're not doing that, unfortunately, it's my opinion that you are dropping the ball for all the people you are serving. So with GPS, how we have worked this into our business, way back in the archives of time, when we first started using Service Autopilot, we had our team clock in and out of all of these lawns. So what we were gathering was data. How long does it take to get through this size lawn? How long does it take to get through this size lawn? How long does it take to get through this size lawn with these obstacles? And with that, I made a tiered system, basically a A, B, C, D, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, however you want to tier this off. I made 3 levels, A being the easiest, C being the hardest. And I looked at the properties in average sizes. So I took properties in like the 15,000 to 20,000 square foot size property and looked at the slowest lawns we did and the fastest lawns we did and made comparisons on these accounts. I ran the average numbers on all of this and I came up with, in this size property, on the fast side it takes us this amount of time, on the slow side it takes us this amount of time. Then I did that on larger properties. We still go out and see massive properties a lot of times to really get a feel of it, but that's something that honestly we go out to see it just to get the full picture, because usually there's a lot of trimming and a lot of other services that you sometimes just can't do with GPS. We still get a lot of our measurements and how long it's actually going to take to produce the mowing side just from GPS. But so on those smaller properties, we've broken this down. We've got A being fast, B being a little slower, C being the hardest. And now we build in the numbers that we already know. We know, hey, it takes us this long, so we use from our budget creation of knowing what our man-hour rate is, we put that against those times. And what we create in Service Autopilot is a price matrix. You could use a Google Sheet for this. You could use Excel sheets, any kind of calculating sheet to come up with a price matrix. So you can type in how many thousand square foot it is. It spits out a number. No, on mowing, we get a lot of questions about, do we use just total lot size or do we use turf only? And the answer is we use total lot size, because I want you to think about this. If a house is gone, is your mowing faster? The answer is no. If you mowed just a straight lot with no house, your mowing would be much faster than that same property with a house on it. Because a house adds all kinds of difficulties, driveways, sidewalks, all these things that are not actually mowing, add more trimming, add more edging, add more things to avoid, add more time where you have to slow down the mower and you can't just go full blast. So with this happening, you have to measure the full lot size to truly get an accurate estimate. So all of our numbers, all of our data that we broke down, we used total lot size comparisons. We looked at the slowest, we looked at the fastest. I was able to export all my Excel calculations from Service Autopilot and start manipulating the numbers and start understanding these numbers so we could build this. Now yours doesn't have to be as complex. You don't have to have as much data as I had. I just had more because I knew it was important and I've been tracking it for a while. You can go out and start mowing several different lawns and you can compare the information you get from several weeks of mowing those lawns and you can be off to the races. It's a notice, it's a recommendation, now that we talked about this, that now it's time for you to forever track your data. Have a system where you can clock in, you can clock out, and you can be tracking what time it takes to do the mowing, to do the properties that you're doing, so then you can refine and refine and refine and refine your numbers on what your production looks like in the future. Now, that's how we do mowing. And that's how we merge our man-hour rate with how long it actually takes to produce the project, and then we measure it with GPS and we're able to spit out instant numbers. Next, I want to talk about landscaping. This is something that there'll be even more pushback. But the way I look at landscaping is that number I told you earlier, that maybe you get 30% of all of the projects. Well, this is where you can really leverage that. If you get on the phone with someone, you get on the phone and start qualifying someone, start asking about what they're wanting on a landscape project. A lot of times you can have their account. This is how I do it. I have Service Autopilot. Maybe you don't have that. For me, it helps because I'm able to build things out, and I've got estimate templates set up. So if I've got numbers, if I got square footage and linear measurements, I can type it in there and I can start having an estimate like that. But I'll have their account pulled up and I'll have Google Earth on the other screen. And a lot of times on the phone, if people are wanting landscape beds, or they're wanting sod installations, they're wanting edging, curbing, these different things, tear out of existing plants, with the way Google Earth has got, where you can do 3D views of a house, you can do all the street view to take a look at the existing, what they used to have. It may be old, but it gives you an idea of the lay of the land. I'm able to do a lot of foundation plan, rough estimates, right over first time talking on the phone, or we set up a phone consultation where I'm able to give rough numbers. Now, of course, these numbers are not going to be valid until we get out there in person. We get out there and we do final measurements, but everything that my landscape estimates consist of is from measurements of linear feet and square footage. I can pull all of that stuff from GPS. I can get someone in the right direction, and I can verify if they are a candidate that we're going to end up working together, because I will quickly know if this is a $1,000, $5,000, $15,000, $50,000 project, and we'll be able to have the conversation of, does that make sense, or does that sound like something that we shouldn't even be looking into doing because it's not in the budget for this project you have. So that is how we price landscaping. You're gonna have to do a lot more work on the back end of this to truly be able to know this, for me. And I don't even need the Excel sheet just from doing this for so long, the Excel sheet or the template and Service Autopilot, and this is the same thing that you need to do. So here's some gold nuggets. If you're doing landscape, and if you're doing softscape is going to be the comparison I make. You need to know your square footage price for landscape fabric installed, your labor, your material, your square footage pricing, how much rock per 100 square foot, and then how much labor to install that. You need to be able to pump out all these numbers. You need to know your linear foot per foot of curbing or edging or whatever that is. So with all these measurements, you can compile an estimate. Know your disposals, know your deliveries, know these different things, so you can compile an estimate really fast and give someone numbers. And with GPS, you can give them rough numbers very quick. Now, I will say, after doing this for so long, I can be within a few $100s to a couple $1,000s on a big estimate. I think the last big estimate we closed on GPS was $15,000 before I went out there. Then they added more and it became a $20,000 project. Next, let's talk about fertilization and weed control. This is another one that's kind of like the mowing side of things, but it's slightly different. Here again, we're gonna look at production. We're gonna look at what it costs. Now we have a material, so it's not like mowing. We need to know how much per 1,000 square foot is the material, and I like to think on average for the year. I don't care about the cost of each individual round. I care about the average across the year. So I don't care that this round costs $2 a foot, this round costs $3 a foot, and this round costs 50 cents a foot. I care 1,000 square foot. I care about how much does it cost per 1,000 square foot on average for the course of the year. From there, then we come up with our rough number per 1,000 that we are going to charge to treat, along with our standard price that here's the minimum. It's never gonna go below this price. Bare minimum, we have to charge this to go out and service a property, and then it's up from there. You hear some people call that their stop fee, they're this, they're that. There's all kinds of verbiage for all this stuff in landscaping, people, or in any business, and people try to overcomplicate it and make shit way fucking harder than it is. That's how we broke out our pricing. Here again, we have a per 1,000 square foot pricing, so it boils down to measurement. Now, the difference between this versus mowing. Now the house doesn't make it harder. The house being there actually makes it where we're treating less square footage, and yes, it might be a little harder to maneuver, but we don't have as much ground to cover, so therefore we are not doing a total lot measurement, we are doing a total turf covered measurement to come up with the estimate of what this application is going to cost. This is again going to be something that for me, it's taken me a lot more time to refine this. And since you're starting out, this is going to be my advice to you. We didn't have a lot of fertilizer accounts at first. We had a lot of mowing accounts. That I had the good data from, and I was able to do all the data collection that we talked about. Here I didn't have all that data. And maybe you don't have all that data yet either. So what you're gonna go is you're gonna take the data you do have, and then we're gonna assume higher. I knew that, hey, we could get the fertilizer done in this amount of time. That was my really rough approximate guess. And I went higher. I looked at the market competition. I saw their pricing, which I'm not telling you to look at their pricing and copy, but I knew, hey, here's the market. I'm gonna go higher than that because I don't have enough experience in this realm, and I wanna make sure we spend all the time to give above and beyond service. So I looked at what I thought it would take, and then I still went a little bit higher. I wanted to make sure by no means we are the cheapest. We're not trying to get volume services here. My business is not. Maybe your business is priced that way, and that's fine. It's just a different way to skin a cat. And there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. So that's what I did. I bumped that up. So if you don't know about your mowing yet, and you're a little questionable and you think, hey, here's my numbers, but I don't have enough information, maybe I bump those by like 5% just to cover what I don't know. And then as you gain knowledge from the time, and actually more importantly, not gain knowledge, but gain knowledge and data. Data is what matters. Gain those clock in and clock outs and see the times it actually takes to treat properties. Then you'll learn and you'll define and you'll tweak. And that's what we've done with fertilizer. And that's what we did with mowing. And on fertilizer side, we just pretty much always knew that it was profitable, and we made sure we always kept it higher and always kept it profitable. And these things, this isn't going to be the final answer for you. Our prices as a company on all maintenance for Illinois went up 10% this year. We're about to do surcharges for gas. We're continuously making all these changes. So nothing is exact and for sure. It needs to change with the things that get thrown at you. You need to be able to pivot and grow and just completely get over those hurdles that get thrown your way. Figure out how to move this way or move that way to overcome those things. So this is the basic guideline on how we came up with that, how we've implemented that. And then on the tail end of this, it's you still need to keep tweaking. You still need to keep changing. Don't set anything in stone and think it's the be all end all, because that will be the end of your company.